Hey everyone, welcome to the Pull List. It is September 12th, 2012. I'm joined again this week by Trevyn. I am Lee, of course. Yeah, you just happened to be in the area. You were wandering the streets.
Yeah.
So I brought you in and I'm going to tell you about comic books.
Just reached out the door and grabbed me by the collar.
Be ready. So from Dark Horse Comic Books this week, we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer right there. This is issue 13, I believe, and I don't read this book. Krista does. So apparently it's been very, very good, though. They continued on the series, of course, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Does it keep up the tone of the show?
Yeah, for the most part, all the same characters. It's Josh Whedon actually. He did a lot of the writing or the overseeing of the entire 8th season, and then a little in 9 as well. So it's keeping with it. Yeah, and it's cool. A lot cheaper to produce than a show. So obviously. So continuing with the Zero issues, which I talked to you about last week, we have Batman Zero issues from Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo, which is like the badass DC team going right now. So again, this one's going to take kind of place back in the early Bruce Wayne days. You know, kind of just becing Batman or something like that, or even before that.
Is,
What kind of Batman?
What kind of Batman is
the only kind of Batman?
There's different kinds of Batmans. You have campy Batman.
No. This is like the Batman, like serious, tonally Batman.
Okay.
Their main arc has been this Talon thing, where there's been this group.
The
Owl Council living in Gotham. They've just been messing with Bruce this entire time. And he didn't even know it. So that tonally is that kind of book. Cool. That is what it is. There's not really a campy Batman going.
Not anymore. No.
Kevin Smith called back to it most recently. He did the thing called Wiring Gyre, and they did flashbacks, and in the flashbacks it was like Adam West Batman was like old chum and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
It was neat. You got to embrace your past, right? Darkness, this is 106 here. It's been a really, really cool book, actually. Artifacts went down in the Top Guy universe, which reset everything.
Okay.
And the Witchblade, Sarah and Jackie Escato, our Darkness guy here, they had a daughter.
Universe.
Yeah, they had a daughter, and then their daughter had to die to reset the universe. And when they did so, Jackie kind of reset it in his own image. So he brought back his dead girlfriend, and then his daughter is now their daughter. And then he separated himself from the Darkness, but the Darkness is now his doppelganger and just messing with him and like destroying his family.
So he didn't really.
So he's ruining everything. Also, Jenny, his girlfriend, she's becoming increasingly aware that something's off, like the universe isn't right, like she's just messed up in the head, because she doesn't exist. She's like, I'm remembering things that didn't happen, or like, because none of it happened. She died. She got shot in the head, right? So, spoilers. So, Avengers vs. X-Men. Now, if I told you Avengers vs. X-Men, doesn't that sound awesome?
I can't think of anything that wouldn't be awesome about it.
Well, you'd be wrong. So, basically what we have here is the Phoenix is returning to Earth. And of course, so they're getting Hope Summers ready to accept the Phoenix because everybody believes that she's going to be like this. She's going to be the second coming of the Phoenix. When it finally gets here, it for some reason chooses Namor, Magic, Colossus, Cyclops, and Emma Frost.
Who's the second one?
Magic, Colossus' sister.
Never heard of her.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
So they go nuts, and they start basically making the Earth into this crazy utopia, but they're also just, they're gone completely insane, and nothing cool happens. It's very unfortunate. This one in particular is Brian Michael Bendis' writing.
Do Namor and Pietro discuss hairstyles?
No. How they're very similar. Colossus is actually bald.
Oh.
He's also the Juggernaut now. Yeah, you've been out of the loop, man.
What happened to the Juggernaut?
This is the I don't know what happened to the Juggernaut, honestly. I think that was before my time of comic books. I'm sorry. Oh. This is round 11. There's 12 rounds.
Okay.
So this is the second last issue. They've been swapping around writers on each one, so it's probably been the most inconsistent thing you could ever... Yeah. So it's not just quality, but like certain writers are good at certain things. So this is Bendis, and he typically writes the Avengers books, so he's good at group settings, but they put someone like Matt Fraction on a book like this, and he's not great at groups, and his kind of like he has goofy dialogue and stuff like that. So it's been all over the place. Hickman had the best issue. I think it was issue 6, where he focused on Magneto a lot, and that was super cool. But I'm glad this is ending. Coy Pell, however, does the art, and that's probably one of the best artists we've had on this entire book. He's excellent. So at least the characters will look badass.
Sweet.
Avenging Spider-Man. This is a spin-off to the Spider-Man universe. It usually just takes place with Spider-Man and someone else in the Marvel universe hanging out, talking, whatever. In this case, it's going to be cool. Deadpool.
It's always whenever you team someone with Spider-Man, there's always a lot of good banter back and forth.
It started with Red Hulk, and then there was like a Hawkeye issue, a Captain America issue. Last issue, he was just talking to Aunt May. He was teaming up with Aunt May. So past that, there it is. It's been a really good book. This is an artist and writer I'm not familiar with. Kevin Shinnick. No idea who that is. Let's
Give
see
him a chance.
Because they keep swapping out writers too. The idea is like everybody gets a shot at Spider-Man, so it's kind of neat that way. Jason Aaron's The Incredible Hulk number 13. Stay angry, Trevyn. Basically,
never not angry.
The Hulk tried to cut the piece of his brain out that was Bruce Banner, and succeeded with the help of Dr. Doom.
Whoa. So is the Hulk smart again, or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has like Bruce Banner's intellect. Bruce Banner's just this crazy man.
But he's just all angry now.
Yeah. So he cuts the part out and then kills. Literally, they put it into a body. So Bruce Banner and Hulk are two separate entities. Hulk kills Bruce Banner, but now for some reason Hulk is able to change back, and Bruce Banner doesn't remember what he does when he does so. So Bruce Banner is doing all this crazy evil master stuff, and then suddenly the Incredible Hulk just finds himself in a scenario and he has no idea what's going on.
So now Banner's the guy who's wrecking shit up.
Yes.
And the Hulk's the guy.
So the Hulk has to stay angry to stay the Hulk, because when he turns back into Banner, Banner's doing
shit goes down.
Because Banner's like straight up a villain now.
Wow.
So it's neat, but
interesting twist.
Has been the most ridiculous book. There was one issue where he fights this like. Steve Dillon drew it, and I love Steve Dillon's art, but he draws everybody kind of the same. So he drew Hulk. He drew him no bigger than you. Like, he was just like a green dude.
Just a regular guy.
And he fights this like Mexican drug cartel lord who's a man with a dog's head.
Whoa.
And he like fist fights him, and he's like, it's like an even fight. I'm like, it's the damn Hulk. He would rip this guy in half. It was so silly.
Stupid dog head off.
New Avengers. This is again from Bendis Diodato on art. Still a tie into AVX, which I'm not incredibly insane about. The books are good, and then what happens with Marvel is when they do the event, everything has to like fall under that umbrella, and that just ends up you end up with a bunch of like.
Well, I guess
subpar.
if it's a huge event, it's going to affect a lot of people, and they got to somehow work that in.
But there's certain books that are just exempt. Like certain books just don't pay attention to it, and they just go on their own merry way. I don't know. Anyways, Ultimate Comics. This is X-Men from Brian Wood. United We Stand. So they had the Divided We Fall arc, and now they're having the United We Stand. Basically, the United States, as I talked about last week, is in disarray. You have a group of 4 mutants kind of headed over to the West Coast to murder Sentinels and cool stuff. So, Wolverine and the X-Men. This is back in the 616 universe course. Jason Aaron, number 16. Kind of moving away from an AVX tie, even though it still has the banner, which is super cool. Was a really good book before the AVX thing went down. So I'm happy to have it back. I didn't like the event, so all these other books that I like that are now just forced to kind of shoehorn in event stuff. I'm just like, let's just wrap it up.
Yeah.
So over to Valiant Comics of all people. They it's the summer of Valiant. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
They had nothing going for them. Then they rebooted 4 books: Bloodshot, Archer and Armstrong, Harbinger, which I have an issue of right here. Remember Exo Manowar from the 90s?
Actually, yeah.
He's back.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So this is issue 5, and Ninjak's coming on the. This is a super badass book. He's a warrior back in like the old Roman Empire times. Gets sucked up by the aliens, gets their badass armor, wrecks them, comes back to Earth and doesn't realize, and then realizes rather that it's the future and that everything he knew and loved just doesn't exist anymore. So he's just this crazy badass. He still has a beard with the armor on, which is the best Exo Manowar you could have. So that's Valiant Comics. Harbinger's also cool. It's like a kid with like crazy mental powers, but. You've heard that story before, but this one's actually pretty cool. In the first issue, he like brainwashes this girl into having sex with him.
Same old song, different dance.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you had the power to brainwash people or like influence them, he goes back to his old neighborhood and he sees his old flame from high school and he's just like, "Hey, you love me now." And she's like, "What? You're crazy." He's like, "No, you love me now." And she's like, "Right."
As a man with
very limited
telepathy, that's what you do.
Yeah, but then of course there's a part where he releases her from this spell, and she remembers everything that happened and knows that it wasn't pretty. Let's just say.
I could
cool book.
No.
Anyways, that's the pull list for this week. Kind of a smaller pull list. DC just kind of fell by the wayside. Just Batman, which is probably going to be the best issue of the month from them, anyways. But yeah, that's about it. So we did finally get podcast number 38 up. Rob joined me, of all people. So we talked about stuff. So that's out. I don't know when 39 is coming, but thank you for joining me again, Trevyn.
No problem. Put her there.
We'll see you again next week.